All right, you guys, I have something incredible to share with you today in this episode. Something big shifted in December 2025, and a lot of starseeds felt it. Since then, I've been getting a lot of messages from healers, intuitives, and spiritual entrepreneurs, all saying exactly the same thing. Why does the online business model feel so wrong for me? The funnels feel gross, hooks feel manipulative, selling pain points feels misaligned. Nobody wants to hear 2 spots left when there's actually 10. We just don't want to play these games anymore and to take a multidimensional quantum idea and pack it down into a 2D pancake and ship it off into a deliverable through an offer on the internet just feels not in alignment. It feels like an old, archaic, outdated system, and a lot of people are resisting even putting their work online, and that is why they are struggling as spiritual entrepreneurs. So I'm going to explain in today's episode why that is, and we'll be sharing some really exciting technologies that are coming in for humanity. So yesterday I sat down and I had a 3-hour long channeling session, like for 3 hours straight. I was just on my computer, just typing as fast as I possibly could as this information poured in. And it's all because I asked a question. How are starseeds meant to share their gifts on this planet if the current business model feels completely out of alignment? And what came through was very interesting because it paralleled to the blueprints that I talked about in the video that I released on January 1st of this year that went viral about the Galactic Federation wanting to have contact with humanity. And I saw in that vision a big galactic ship lowering down onto planet Earth, and people that were vibrating at a certain consciousness, at a certain frequency, would be able to see the ship and would feel welcomed going onto the ship, and then they would receive these quantum blueprints. They sort of looked like tablets that lit up and illuminated, kind of like the night at the museum, those tablets. And ever since then, I've been thinking about those blueprints, and I'm really curious what is on those blueprints. And so what I saw was that there's going to be systems in place where you don't have to chase clients anymore. You don't have to market yourself. You don't have to play the game, the emails, the funnels, posting 3 times a day, using social media, all that stuff. That was going to be no longer. There was new technologies that were going to come in so that you could just match through frequency in the quantum realm. You would simply emanate. You would be a beacon. You would be your own sovereign signal. And it would be like a lighthouse on a hill for boats, or like a signal that just went boop, 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 boop. And people would find you based on resonance instead of going through a fake algorithm. According to what came through this download, the first prototypes of these systems would start appearing between May and October of this year, 2026. So if you're a healer, a starseed entrepreneur, or an intuitive who has felt like the current business model was never designed for you, you might not be broken. You might just be early to the party. Earlier yesterday, I received a message from my spirit guide saying you need to talk to starseeds in business because things are rapidly shifting. And I'm going to do my very best to read this transmission because I got into a lot of really interesting information. So starseeds in business, you guys have been fighting the current model. You have gifts which you want to share with the world and inspiring messages that come through you like codes of wisdom from a higher power. Many of you have been getting downloads and you don't know what to do with them. So you've been journaling, you've been writing them on tiny little bits of scattered pieces of paper, not knowing why you're keeping them, but just knowing that they're going to be purposeful someday. You just know it. It's like a clear cognizance. The reason why you haven't brought them online yet is because everything in you is resisting the current model of business. You're thinking there has to be an easier way to this. As a starseed and a clairvoyant myself who channels messages pertinent for the ascending collective to know during this big shift in consciousness, I ask this question: how will we be able to share our gifts in a world free of manipulation, exhaustion, and outdated business choreography? I started getting the stream of consciousness coming in from the Galactic Federation. And they said, first of all, this resistance among starseeds is not just stubbornness. It's a soul level discernment, an encoded protection that prevents you from investing your sacred energy into structures built on separation, urgency, and performative scarcity because we can already tell something is changing and we are outgrowing this old system. So we're going quantum. The fact that so many feel frustrated with the current model is evidence that the grid has already shifted. So I've had visions of these quantum resonance platforms that will be emerging. Imagine these networks where your authentic frequency ripples out, not just your words, but like literally your quantum frequency ripples out into the quantum field. And all of those whose fields harmonize with yours are matched to you by a vibrational algorithm. The prototypes of these platforms will begin to emerge between May and October of 2026. It was pretty crazy what they showed me. They have this concept that I saw about a soul signature. And so it's basically each person's unique blueprint or imprint, sort of like a digital aura that becomes searchable through heart coherence, soul codes, and intention. And that there was going to be new apps that were emerging that were going to be more holographic, more quantum, and they were going to be based on your intention. So like, let's say, for example, and everything was, because it's resonance based, everything was going to be consent based psychic broadcasting. So as telepathy starts to reawaken on the planet, like it's starting to come back through the most advanced star seeds already, but as that starts to reawaken and more people start to regain their gifts of telepathy, there will be these opt-in energetic communities that I was seeing. So they are basically quantum gridded circles that are created through intention. So if you set an intention like, I welcome transmissions from healers working with light codes, that would be an intention that you set for creating one of these holographic quantum communities. I know this sounds really far out and I can't really elaborate or explain more than what I saw, but I also saw these virtual holograph rooms, in sci-fi movies where a big holograph like raises, like a big globe raises up in the middle of the table and they're all sitting around the table. It was very similar to that. And they said that they did give a timeline on this, and they said that this will be launching spring of 2027. This sort of like holographic room technology, or actually physical places like reactivating around the world. They also showed me like ancient temples coming back to life, because the temples that we see nowadays, those crumbled ruins, those were actually alive. Like the grids on the temple grids actually lit up. They were places where there was consciousness, and hard to explain, but they came alive. So the synchronicity based on intention and heart coherence would completely replace the online internet algorithm. During 2025, I had this idea come up a lot. Like I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if there was like a quantum marketplace where if I wanted a green couch, instead of searching endlessly for it, that I would just find somebody who is wanting to get rid of their green couch, and we would find each other because it was a mutual win-win. Like the universe usually works on these win-win vibes. Like it's good for you, it's good for me. Oh my God, I manifested that. Oh my God, this is exactly what I was looking for, right? Or if I needed a specific type of business coach and there was somebody out there with that exact skill set that I was looking for, and they wanted so badly to have a business exchange with an ideal client like me. Not that I'm everyone's ideal client, but for this particular person, that I would be the exact thing that they're looking for. And so it would just be like a puzzle piece that fits perfectly into the puzzle. It would be like a receptor site, lock in. And I started getting these visions, these desires, like, oh, that would be so nice. So yes, we're already seeing this stuff happening through synchronicities where we're like, oh my God, I manifested that. But this new quantum system that I saw that's coming for us is going to be like that on steroids. This quantum model is designed to do exactly that. I had visions of this quantum realm where we could like just all connect and it would just all work itself out based on our intentions. So I was getting confirmation of that type of quantum system coming in. So this was a side note that I asked because I said I see a lot of parallels with that quantum realm and the Internet of Bodies that the enslavement timeline is headed for. In most cases, it's the same agenda, but completely different energies to them, like evil versus love, dark versus light. Take, for example, the one world government. On the enslavement timeline, it means a group of satanic occultist elites that have world domination. And yet on the new earth timeline, I do get this sense of one quantum governing body of everything. I also get that there's going to be no borders. The whole planet is going to sort of be as one, but we're going to have an overrule of consciousness. As I saw it, the difference was that your authentic frequency will directly shape your existence and the reality that you experience. So if you're working with dark forces or you're vibrating at a low frequency, you will simply just not be able to exist on the new earth timeline. So I asked if that was accurate. I will share with you later what they said in that transmission. Because this was not done linear time, I kind of bounced all over the place when I was getting this download, because that's just how my brain works. But yeah, anyways, there was going to be no more push pull dynamics in business. Like, you weren't going to have to market yourself. There was going to be only magnetic attraction according to the highest alignment. So I asked again, like, when this is all happening, and they said spring equinox 2026, and then more mass adoption around this concept in December 2026 around the solstice. They said at first there was only going to be a few light workers and star seeds, like the really awakened ones, that were going to be starting to form these types of communities. And so I had to think about the fact that I have a few friends who are really awakened star seeds that I have had psychic phone conversations with. So we'll typically go into a meditation, we'll set an intention, and we'll just go into a meditation. And every once in a while, when we feel called to share something or say something, or like, oh, I just saw that, or this just popped into my consciousness, we'll say it. And then like 80 to 90% of the time, the other person on the other line is like, yep, I just saw that exact same thing. Or they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm doing exactly the same thing. Or my spirit guides showed me. It's like a confirmation that we are in sync. But I will have these phone conversations where we don't say anything. We are psychically in a meditation together, experiencing the same things. I also used to have this happen when I would do healing circles on Vancouver Island, and we would set an intention. About 4 or 5 of us, we would get into a circle and go into a meditation. And then after we were finished the meditation, we would all come out of it around the same time as well. There was no like, okay, timer, we're going to go for 5 minutes. It was just an intuitive, like, okay, we would just kind of all come out of it. And then we would talk about what we saw and what we experienced. And at that point, like 75 to 80% of the time, I would say that people said they saw the same things, or they're like, oh, you saw that white light too, or you saw that demon. So it was really interesting. So take it or leave it, guys, but this is really, really crazy information that came in. Instead of Zoom calls and webinars that were aimed to convert clients, there would be gatherings. They would be like conscious portals, multidimensional spaces where your presence alone transmits codes. Practitioners and seekers co-create quantum circles, private resonance fields intentionally done through declaration. For example, I am calling in all souls ready for crystalline DNA activation through Lemurian sound codes. And actually doing the full embodiment practice and opening up to receive and accepting those quantum upgrades that you shift into the frequency where you're broadcasting that for the other members. So if that is who you are and that is what you do, then you set the intention to find the others, and then members opt in energetically by meditating together or sometimes creating physical or virtual spaces. But they all have a shared intention, and this shared intention acts as, they called it the frequency bridge. Only those that resonate with the circle's purpose can find the circle, even if a public link doesn't exist. So I got visions of smaller groups of people, like 3 to 12 souls, linking up using quantum communication apps, which are soon to be released, each of them holding a unique intention, like anchoring in codes of abundance or elemental healers. And going back to sort of that digital aura, in order to be opted into these multidimensional circles, you're basically going to have to pass a vibe check. Like there was going to be technology in place that would be able to track you energetically. You'll have to be at a certain level of consciousness. And Dolores Cannon already talks about that everybody is sort of energetically tracked by their unique blueprint. You know, nobody has the same unique blueprint, quantum blueprint that you have. Your energy, your aura, your sovereignty is like an energetic fingerprint. Nobody has exactly the same cosmic makeup as you. So, in a sense, you're already trackable in the quantum realm. Other beings from other planets recognize that you're from planet Earth because of the silver cord that you have attached to the top of your crown chakra. For example, when you sleep, because your physical body is what needs the rest, your consciousness does not need rest. So when you sleep, your physical body goes into restoration and regenerative mode, and your consciousness goes and astral projects. And that's when you have your crazy dreams. You might be doing things on other planets or joining back with your starseed family, re-emerging into just your conscious energy. And when it's time for you to wake up, your soul consciousness travels back into your body. But they, you know, beings from other planets, wherever you are during that astral projection, they can tell that you're from Earth because you still have that silver cord attached. And then your consciousness comes back into your body, and then you wake up. If you've ever had an experience where you've had sleep paralysis, I have. That basically means that your soul didn't merge with your body fast enough. About 12 years ago, I woke up and I wanted to get out of bed and my legs wouldn't work. So I thought, okay, this is weird. Maybe I just have a pinched nerve or something. So I scooted my way over to the edge of my bed and I took a step off my bed and just absolutely collapsed on the floor. And I was like, oh my God. So I took all my strength and grabbed myself back up using my door handle and went to go take another step out of the door. And I completely collapsed in the hallway and smacked up against my door. And my sister came running out of her room and she's like, oh my God, what's the matter? And I was like, I'm paralyzed. Help. I'm like, go get mom. So she ran to get my mom and then they came downstairs. By that time, I was slowly starting to get feeling back into my legs. And then within 2 minutes after that, I had complete use of my legs again. But it was the weirdest phenomena. I couldn't make sense of it until years later, I found the video of Dolores Cannon talking about sleep. And when your soul consciousness doesn't merge with your physical body in time, that you get this sleep paralysis, or that you have your consciousness hasn't fully merged with your body yet. So you get that phenomena. So anyways, yeah, instead of having platforms like Facebook or Instagram that a lot of starseeds are just really getting the ick about. Like I've been noticing a lot of people wanting to get off of social media entirely and they're not wanting to blast emails anymore. There's going to be this other system that comes in that's going to propagate through synchronistic dreams and telepathic nudges and direct intuitive knowings. Basically, the follow your bliss type people are going to be the thrivers in this new quantum model. So let's say, for example, that you have a dream about a big giant silver rose, and then you wake up in the morning and you wake up to 3 invitations mentioning rose codes. That's your quantum invite. So when you get that quantum invite or when you get that intuitive nudge, that's the time where you sit down and meditate and you tune into, see what that invitation is all about. Lots of advanced starseeds have already been using these types of rooms through meditation and astral projections. Some of them have been in council rooms. Others, like myself, have gathered with other starseeds, like just above the earth grid. I talk a lot about being the 3 aspects of yourself: physical, mental, and spiritual, and not separating them. So not just meditating for 20 minutes in the morning and then shelving that and just like living through your physical human experience using just your mind. It's a constant state of feeling intuitive nudges, or when you feel like something is calling you, like your spirit guides are calling you, or you feel like a ping to tune in, that you stop, drop, and meditate, and you just tune into the field. And I do this throughout my day. And every time that I do, it's either an aha moment, a download, an awareness, or I see a vision of something and it usually only takes like 1 to 5 minutes. And then I'm finished that. And I'm like, okay, now I carry on with my day. But I have had visions where I zoom up out of the Earth's stratosphere and I'm looking down at Earth and I'm up there with all of the other star seeds that are also currently meditating on Earth, and they've zoomed up to astral project having this view on Earth. It's a giant circle around the Earth that all of us have our hands out like this and we're just beaming light to the planet. And you can see from up high, like, oh, it feels so real, but there's a stupid little government and then there's all these dumb rules. And like, we know who we actually are. We know how powerful we actually are. And I can see all the other light workers and I'm like, hey guys. And it's so cool for me to know that everybody that I see is people that are meditating at that exact moment in time on Earth. So what you do is basically you create a specific setting in your mind and you call forth those who share your encoded purpose. The stronger your clarity, your focus, and your commitment, the more tangible these meetings become. So I get that this is pretty far out there, but it is going to start happening amongst the most advanced star seeds, where you'll realize that through meditation, that is how you access these interdimensional spaces with other folks. And you will find clients and also co-facilitators that are basically building the new Earth grid with you. This is going to ripple out over the next 7 years. So right up until about 2033, they said. What else did they say? Because intention drives everything in the spiritual quantum realm, you'll have to create a very specific intention. And the more clear, the more focused, the more committed you are to that specific setting, that specific intention, the more solidified these meetings are going to become, the more tangible they're going to become. There was also going to be this new platform that they showed me where it was going to be based on like you could put a public intention out there and it was going to be on like a harmonic profile. So you would say your intention is basically to mentor awakening children. The network then would only connect you to guardians, parents, teachers, educators that were looking specifically and precisely for that frequency. Any spam or misaligned pitches, like they wouldn't be in vibrational resonance with that. So those things would be impossible to access that field. They talked a lot about declaration, like saying it out loud, what your intention is. And I've talked a lot about speaking things out loud with my clients. You have your unique voice, the way that the vocal cords vibrate, the way that your voice sounds. That's why they have voice recognition, is because really nobody else has exactly the same voice as you. But when you speak something into existence, your unique voice vibrations carry out into the quantum field and literally shape the molecular structure to conjure up what you have spoken to it. It'll start grabbing all the cooperative components and assimilate them together to bring to you that which you have declared. So when you say something out loud or when you write something down, that will broadcast into the crystalline grid as this geometric wave that goes out of your mouth and starts to shape the molecular structures to bring that to you. Those seeking that same frequency, consciously or not, will feel like an inner pulse. Like sometimes I just feel like, oh, I should text that person and just check in. Super random. I haven't talked to them for months, but I will message them and they'll be like, I was literally just thinking about texting you. But if neither one of us does it, then we miss an opportunity there to connect. And those connections are always spirit led. So people that feel this inner pulse, like, I should reach out to Kiki. I feel her presence. That's a ping from spirit. And you should act on that. Again, as more people start to really align with their intentions of what they want and act on their intention, the more people that follow their bliss, the more people that answer the call or stop, drop, and meditate when they get the ping, the more that quantum grid will really start to solidify. The more people that align around specific intentions like prosperous healers supporting each other, the strength of that field will increase exponentially. And then it'll make it easier for others that are encoded with that same vibration to find their way into that field. They said this replaces the algorithmic matching. You do not need ads. Instead, you'll trust the magnetic pull of resonance set in motion by group intentions. We'll have technology that blends sacred imagination with new technology. That's why it's so important for everyone to exercise their third eye by using it. Keep it open, keep it activated, and keep it decalcified. Here's a message that I thought was really cool because I asked, is there even a point for us starseeds to start online businesses on the current or old model? And they said, if engaging in tools requires any self betrayal or you feel frustrated because you're dumbing down this multidimensional quantum existence or gifts, you feel like you're flattening that down into your 2D pancake. If you feel like it's dimming your frequency, if you feel like you're just forcing yourself to do it, then it's an absolute no. The reason that you feel like you can't dummy it down or flatten it into the current model is because it's quantum. It is reserved for this quantum model that is coming in. So they said, no, it's not necessary for your ascension path to use the current models that we have now. But they said if you feel in temporary flow with using small aspects as a bridge, like sharing genuine updates with your soul family, or if you get a download that you want to share without sacrificing your authenticity, then if that's what you feel like you're meant to do, then by all means use it a little bit here and there. But don't try to force yourself through the resistance to plug into that system when your intuition is telling you that it's already outdated. If you do try to force yourself into funnels, hooks, urgency driven approaches, that'll fragment your field and actually block your channels of abundance coming to you. They said that people who feel extremely frustrated with this old model, their soul signed up to create a new resonance based architecture, not to perpetuate the expired models. Basically, you're the architect before there's a building. You are the singer before there's a stage. I've actually channeled for a few people in my quantum healing sessions that they are being prepared for job opportunities and openings that have not opened yet. It would be like telling somebody in the 90s that they were going to have a position at Google in the AI department. That would have been so unfathomable to someone in the early 90s because that was before we even had internet. And yet I see so many people, their pump is being primed and they're being prepared to plug into a completely different new quantum model with all of these blueprints that are designed to take care of the problems that we face in the daily grind today. So I always tell those clients to just hang in there. Sometimes they're straddling their matrix job and then they got their soul passion that they feel is so quantum that they're meant for something. I'm like, hang in there because your pump is being primed. You're being prepared. The job position hasn't opened yet. It's coming. So, like I said, this isn't all linear, but I wanted to go back to what they said about the digital aura because it kind of freaked me out, right? With all of the talk about the paralleling agendas, with the digital IDs and the social credit systems and all the internet of bodies that the controllers want to establish, like we've heard with the nanobots and the 5G networks and stuff, how they wanted to create this internet of bodies so that they can full surveillance and get into your minds and thoughts and everything. Like that freaks me out. So I wanted to ask them about that. They said regarding being able to see those two paralleling timelines, like one of digital enslavement and the other one being of quantum liberation, this is because of ancient memories in Atlantis and Lemuria, and then recent galactic assignments where I've experienced similar crossroads where we have new technology and there's the temptation for either it being misused or the possibility of a complete launching pad in transcendence for humanity. And that's the way that sort of any new technology works. There's always this double-edged sword where it can be used for good purposes or nefarious agendas. They said, yes, it's true that on the enslavement timeline, there's technologies like the digital IDs, the social credit system, scores, the Internet of Bodies, IOBs, using nanotechnology and activation through Bluetooth technologies of 5G. Those are used as weapons of control, tracking every single movement, behavior, even your thoughts, and binding your soul to fear grids and power hierarchies. They said on the New Earth timeline, similar scaffolding appears, but are animated by fundamentally different consciousnesses. The digital aura is not a tool for surveillance or any external validation. It's an opt-in energetic signature. It's your own sovereign, unique blueprint or energetic signature that cannot be captured or manipulated by force. If you're wondering about how to establish a sovereign energetic bubble, I have a course on that. In my Meditation 101 course, I teach you how to create a sovereign bubble, how to cut cords. You can do a full soul recall where you basically let go of anyone and everyone's energy that does not belong to you, and you're calling your soul fragments back to you so that you are your own whole being. That is extremely important. As a clairvoyant who sees energy in people, I see so many people walking around just bagged down because they're not practicing good spiritual hygiene and they are taking on other people's energies. And they, in that case, they are not a sovereign being. They're walking around with their energy and other people's energy and borrowing and siphoning energy through cords and leaking energy out through cords. And you really want to establish a sovereign bubble. So access is always governed by consent and vibrational alignment. No one can rate, control, or commodify you without your soul's explicit allowance. Just like in my quantum healing sessions, I always have to ask permission for that person to allow me to see into their energetic field. I have felt it before where people are pushing me out because they don't want me to see something. And I ask, like, is it okay for me to take a look? I can feel that you're pushing me out. Are you okay? Yes, no. Okay, it's by a consent basis. So this is the crazy part. They said that the system dissolves in the presence of dark intention. So it cannot be hijacked because it exists only within full spectrum heart coherence. So basically going back to what I was asking them, like on the New Earth timeline, if you're not vibrating at a certain frequency, or if you have a dark agenda, or you're working with dark forces, have negative intentions, you simply won't be able to exist on that timeline. They said if a being attempts manipulation or has malicious intent, their access to the New Earth collapses. They basically just bleep out or get redirected to other timelines or learning realms. So then the one world government thing came up again, and I wanted some more clarification on that. So I asked about that, and they said there is a confirmed one world government on the enslavement timeline, right? The centralized totalitarianism, elite domination, artificial unity through coercion, spiritual sovereignty is denied, and satanic inversion of everything, right? They flip everything that's meant to be sacred, they flip it so that it is inverted. And then on the New Earth crystalline timeline, the one government that I was inquiring about looks like quantum unity. They said, we don't have borders because separation becomes obsolete. The governing body isn't a council of rulers, but a geometric fractal expression of planetary consciousness itself. And they basically gave me the words for that because I've had visions of sort of like a quantum conscious computer or something, but it's like the very fabric of the matrix. One time I did a lot of mushrooms in Thailand and I looked out over the sunset and I could literally see every single geometric pattern in the fractal fabric that held our very universe together. And ever since then, I see that matrix code, that fabric, that quantum plasmic geometric sacred geometry, and that the expression of that is planetary consciousness itself. And so everything in that realm, in that existence, is done by vibration, by level of consciousness. They said each soul's authentic frequency shapes their personal and collective reality. Leadership rotates organically according to resonance, service, and wisdom, not imposed authority. Collective decisions arise through harmonic convergence. Think planetary heart coherence events, not voting. They said anyone who attempts to operate in deception or parasite energy cannot access the new earth realities because the grid will simply not hold them. So this isn't a punishment for people that are not vibrating at the same level, but you think about people that are vibrating at a level where they can't see light codes, for example. I used to not be able to see light codes, but when my vibration started to rise and I started to become more spiritually enlightened, I could look out at the water and I would see dancing light codes. And I've mentioned to people, like, can you see that? And they're like, what? And I'm like, the codes on the water. And they're like, nope. And we're looking at exactly the same view, but I can see the light codes dancing around on the water and they can't. So that's how it's going to continue to work as we diverge on these two different timelines. So ever since the grand convergence that happened on December 21st, 2025 at 11:11 UTC, those aligned with the old enslavement paradigms will continue to be entangled in those rapidly collapsing timelines where there's full surveillance and world domination. And that will just increase until it comes to a point where it is completely unsustainable. And those people that are on the new earth timeline, they shifted, whether they're conscious of that or they're not. A lot of starseeds did actually feel that shift on that day, and they knowingly or unknowingly shifted to that new grid where there's only love, consent, mutuality, and living truth. Those are the only things that can exist on the timeline that we switched over to. So then, as any spiritual entrepreneur, I wanted to know, how do we actually make money doing what we do in this quantum grid? So going back to the vision that I shared on the first about the Galactic Federation, I had mentioned that at that point, it wasn't like, how much am I going to get paid for this job? Like when they gave you the quantum blueprints, that wasn't even a thing. That wasn't even a question in your mind. Like when you go to a job interview and you say, what's the hourly rate or how much are you going to pay? That's always something that is talked about. It's something that comes up. It's something that's negotiated. When the Galactic Federation was giving starseeds these blueprints, that wasn't even a question. It was like the Galactic Federation already knew that all of your needs would be met, that people would shift out of their root chakra, out of survival mode. They weren't worried about putting food on their table, paying rent. All of that stuff was already taken care of because those are your basic needs. In order for you to shift into your creative sacral chakra, to create the new earth, you have to shift out of survival mode. And so that was already a given. So they said, yeah, the new earth definition of wealth will evolve. It's no longer a measure of separation or accumulation, but a reflection of resonance, fulfillment, and joy. On the new earth grid, money isn't a dirty or a shameful thing. It just simply becomes a clear channel for sacred exchange, energy for energy or heart to heart. The old paradigm requires you to market yourself by fragmenting your essence, performing urgency, or manipulating pain points. Whereas the new earth paradigm is going to reward your deepest authenticity. When you offer from your soul blueprint alignment, those encoded to receive feel resonance and are delighted to exchange value. Sometimes that's going to be money, sometimes that is going to be in other forms, but it's so freely and joyfully done. There's lots of experiences in my life where I think your average person would probably be like, oh, okay, here's $200. And I'm like, woo, take my money. I'm loving this right now. Like, thank you so much. To me, the value of what I'm receiving feels equal or more to what I gave with the money. And I'm happy to give the money for it. Like, I'm like, yes, this is a win-win situation. So it's going to be more like that. This is also interesting. They said quantum platforms are going to start to emerge online in 2026 and onwards from there. They're going to be able to track energetic flow through resonance signatures, not through manipulative hooks or forced scarcity. So for example, you hold a group meeting and participants pay what feels aligned as their hearts open. A platform supports this with gentle suggested ranges based on the collective median. We'll be moving away from systems like PayPal, Stripe, and we'll be moving towards crypto and energy-based currencies because they're going to be much preferred among the awakening communities. So this is just the last part here because I asked about visibility. Like I asked, how are we going to be visible to all the others that are going to match with our frequency? And they said marketing will be replaced by emanation. Your authentic frequency will be recognized by those that need you or are looking for your offers. Imagine sharing your offer with a really small group of people, maybe 3 people, and then those 3 people see it and they share it synchronistically with people that they think this would also help. And then that web just continues to organically grow because every participant in it is a node that's amplifying your reach. So you had to put very little effort in at the beginning. You didn't have to send a massive email broadcast. You didn't have to blow up your Facebook or your Instagram with posts. You just gave it to a specific aligned group of people and they did the work for you. And it was win-win because they were excited to share this with their girlfriends because like, this is also something I feel like you would need. And I thought of you because we just had that conversation and you said that you were looking for this. Well, here it is. This is the way that the new earth paradigm works. It's always on win-win and it's just full of like, oh my God, I manifested that. Oh my God, I manifested this. This is crazy, right? Who orchestrates that? I've had so many exchanges that happen that way and you feel like you just leave with this pep in your step. Like you're just like, amazing how that all came to be. So one point that they really wanted to make clear was that giving and receiving are both sacred. I know a lot of starseeds feel like they're giving and giving and giving, or they feel the need to not charge for their spiritual gifts. But overgiving without receiving blocks your abundance, they said very clearly. The new structure insists that you receive deeply when you give deeply. Like I said, you're not going to be paid for your hours or your effort. You'll be supported in a direct proportion to how clearly you embody your soul's codes on earth now. So essentially, just keep being who you are. If you are somebody that channels light codes, do that. If you're somebody that holds womb circles, do that. If you are an energy or an emotional alchemist where you help people feel their emotions, do that. Whatever your soul mission is, fully embody it and accept that as your soul purpose and just be that, right? Fully embody those codes and be that quantum version of yourself, and the right people are going to find you. Okay, so the very last thing that they said was you're not laying the foundations of the new earth brick by brick in isolation. You're weaving beams of light with thousands of others doing the same in resonance. Money arrives as a natural result of sacred service woven with joy. So my message is keep doing what you're doing. Find small groups of other starseeds and get together in person, because there is such a thing that when you come together in person, where 3 or more gather or where 2 or more gather, there is a shift that happens. In Dr. Joe Dispenza's healings, in his meditations, he will have novice meditators stationed throughout the room, and then he'll have rookie meditators. And people will go into transcendental meditation, and he can actually scan their brain waves. So they start to shift into theta. Then those theta waves get really thick theta waves. And then some people can shoot up into gamma, and gamma is extremely powerful. Like that is the most powerful ray of frequency that there is. So when the novice meditators, they shoot straight up into gamma, they create this wave, this grid, and it reverberates off the walls and it reverberates off people. And as this grid builds, it builds because other people are feeling it. It's shifting the vibration of other people also higher and higher into thicker waves of theta and into gamma. So it's like whoom, 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 whoom. And it's this crazy, intense energetic field, this grid that flows throughout the space with hundreds of people meditating transcendental meditations all at one time. And that's how people have these incredibly miraculous healings, like spontaneous healings. People with no sight will regain their vision again. People that haven't been able to hear their entire life are crying for joy because they can hear again. So he's been doing a lot of that work, which is absolutely incredible, I think. And it just goes to show, the one thing I love about his work is that he gives quantitative data to something that was previously only qualitative, right? Qualitative data is I can share from my experience, but he's actually giving quantitative data because he's actually taking brain scans and heart ECGs and hooking people up to brain electrodes where he can get measurements of what is happening inside of you when you are going into these deep transcendental meditations. So if you are unfamiliar with how to meditate, or you are still under the guise of meditation is just sitting there clearing your mind and thinking nothing, I would like for you to go check out my Meditation 101 course. That teaches you how to meditate in such a different way. Every single person who has taken that course has been like, wow, I have meditated all my life, or I didn't know how to meditate. And this was completely different from anything that anyone had ever taught me. It's completely different from anything that's out there. My meditation method will take you up into the quantum realm, have you feel that quantum grid, and then basically lasso what you want and bring that back down and funnel it down into your body so that you can become that frequency. So you're actually changing your physiological code. You're actually updating every single cell, wrapping around the helix structure of your DNA, every single code. You are getting those quantum codes. You are renewing yourself, and you simply become that version of yourself. And then you go out into the world, that version of yourself, and you have a very powerful ripple effect out into the 3D realm. So if you don't know how to meditate, or you have been meditating your whole life, but you've hit a plateau, or you really want to know how to enter that quantum realm and literally feel those vibrations just funneling and surging through your body, you got to check out my Meditation 101 course. I'm going to link it below. Thanks for listening today. I'll see you guys next time.